The Marathon trilogy has a whole host of enemies. Now, we know that we'll have compilers in the new Marathon, but what are some of the other possibilities? Let's take a look at all of our enemies and allies from the Marathon trilogy. These are the ranks of the 4 military as follows: Command, Imperial, Attentive, Willful, Aggregate, and Conditioned. In-game, you'll primarily be fighting those of the Willful, Aggregate, and Conditioned levels. We'll be focusing on the Willful and Aggregate levels first. The standard foot soldier of the 4 army are known as fighters. Fighters have light armor and have a shock staff as a weapon. Bungie has something for basic alien soldiers having masks and for their preferred breathing atmosphere being something other than oxygen. But fighters are not as silly as the grunts, which is too bad. Now in the Marathon trilogy, there are 4 main types of fighters. First is the green fighter, the first enemy you ever see on easy and normal difficulty. They are melee only and have a low amount of health. Now a purple fighter is also melee only, but it has more health compared to their green counterparts. Orange fighters can use their shock staff in both a melee and a ranged configuration, making them more dangerous. Blue fighters are also ranged and have the capability of firing 2 bolts in quick succession. Paired with their extra health, they can be dangerous. Remember, they are weak to fire damage. Overall, fighters are stronger in numbers and are a good support for their fellow soldiers throughout the game. 4 troopers are vacuum-enabled soldiers that can put up a fight on board or out in space. They are quite dangerous in their minor and major configurations. A 4 trooper is equipped with essentially the MA-75 that the player has in-game. At a distance, a trooper will lob grenades at you, and when they're within close range, they will hit you with a short burst of the primary fire. The minors are also green colored and are less aggressive and have less health. The majors are purple and they are more aggressive. They have more health and will shoot grenades at you 2 at a time. When they are shooting grenades, they definitely force you to keep moving, but when you get too close, there is almost no way to completely dodge the spray of bullets coming at you. Much like fighters, fire will put them down very quickly. Hunters are 4 in what would appear to be heavy powered armor. They are aesthetically my favorite enemy. They're tall and they have shoulder-mounted plasma cannons that do great damage. The Hunters are armored and strong against conventional ballistics, but seem to take more damage from explosives and the fusion pistol. Finishing them off with either will cause them to explode and hurt those in close proximity to them. Hunters are completely immune to the flamethrower. The minor Hunters are colored a brown-beige color. The majors are green, and they have more health and shoot more projectiles. A new version of the Hunter was made for Marathon Infinity, and this Hunter is blue. They're very tall, and have a great deal of health, and their shots track enemy targets. Groups of Hunters can be difficult to handle because they will basically eat up all your ammo, and you'll often find yourself reloading as they're chasing you down a hallway. They don't move too fast though, so use that to your advantage. Enforcers are as the name implies. They are the peacekeepers among the ranks of the 4. Without visible aggression, they can be seen firing on their allies. Enforcers in the Marathon trilogy are the only 4 enemy that drop a weapon that you can use when they die. Their alien rifle is a fire-based weapon, and is greatly used against lightly armored opponents. Minor Enforcers are blue, and their more tanky major Enforcers are green. In Marathon Infinity, yellow and silver Enforcers also appear, but the only difference is the amount of health they have. They don't have any different sort of attacks. All Enforcers go down pretty easy, but they're best dealt with at a distance as to not take too much damage from their fire-based weapons. Remember, killing an Enforcer with a flamethrower, a rocket launcher, or grenade will destroy the weapon that they are carrying. Still not 100% sure on why. Now, drones are pretty simple. They're a robotic 4 enemy. They float around, they shoot plasma bursts. Now they have a minor and major version, but they don't have too much health, and they're especially weak to the fusion pistol. Much like the fighters, their power is in numbers, but even then, they're not really the scariest of enemies. Now for what is the scariest enemy. It's known as that what kicks our ass, or formerly known as the Juggernaut. The Juggernaut is classified as a flying tank that, at long ranges, shoots twin guided rockets at its enemies. At close range, it will fire the same projectiles as the Enforcer alien rifle, times 2. They have a great deal of health, so rockets and your fusion pistol is your best bet to take them down fast. Be careful when you do take them down. They will blare an alarm as they slowly descend, and when they touch down, they will explode, killing anything nearby. The explosion can actually be seen from anywhere on the map. Now in Marathon Infinity, an orange version was added. It fires much more aggressively and has much more health. This is considered to be the hardest enemy in the game on its own. Juggernauts are really cool, and they can be a pain, and they show up in each game, but they are actually somewhat rare. Now moving on to the slave races, which make up the conditioned ranks among the 4. The Sphit are a cyborg race that could not survive without either their mechanical or biological components alone. They wear long capes that drape from their metal headpiece. When a Sphit, which is also known as a compiler, attacks, they open their cape and fire an energy weapon. While they do float above the ground, they do not seem to fly like you would expect. When crossing terrain of different heights, they will sink to the lowest point and then float up when they reach a higher point. The minor compilers are orange. and the major compilers are purple, and their shots track. There are also partially invisible compilers, who are translucent black shadows, and they blend in on dark levels. Compilers being partially mechanical, though, makes them weak to the fusion pistol. They are also completely immune to the flamethrower, so be aware of that. They're also easy to stun, so any damage that they receive will stop their current incoming attacks. Misfit, at some points in the campaign, are allied with the character, so just be on the lookout for when they're on your side and when they're not, but they may also just stand in your way if they're your friend.
Get out of the way. Come on. Yeah. Invisible ones standing in your way are the worst.
Hulks are pretty self-explanatory. They are large and slow. They hit hard, but they only have melee attacks. They can soak up a lot of damage, but otherwise they're not the biggest threat. Unless you're a Bob, of course.
I shot that one, that was me.
There is not a major class for the Hulks, at least not one that was included in the final version of the game. In the lore and in the terminals, the Hulks actually sound quite scary as they apparently pick up their enemies and throw them against walls and other people. Now, if they showed up in a modern FPS, they might actually be pretty scary. But sadly, this enemy was only in the original Marathon and never made a reappearance in the series. The Wasps are the Four's way of swarming you, or annoying you until you die. These little buggers fly around and shoot you, but they can't take more than a single bullet in their minor form. Their majors can take 2 and are gray in color. While they do screech, it can be easy for them to sneak up on you, so as long as you can find them and get some shots out, you'll do alright. Wasps only appeared in the original Marathon, and I'm unsure if I'd ever want to actually see them again in the series. Lookers, also occasionally known as ticks, are the token suicide unit of the 4. They are small and float just above the ground. They don't make any noise while moving, making them great at ambushing you around dark corners. When they get close enough, they explode and do a lot of damage. When shot and killed, they explode and can cause a chain reaction among other ticks. Lookers were only present in the original Marathon and never made a return to the series. Simulacrums are a genetic human clone that are biologically rigged to explode. During the Battle of the Marathon, the 4 took many prisoners from the colony ship. They then created clones that could be re-released into the crew and explode when they got close to key targets. These clones in-game look the same as normal humans, but they have a few telltale signs. Number 1, they will follow you when they see you, and they will not stop. Number 2, they will say some suspicious and pretty nonsensical phrases.
Frog blast the vent core!
Number 3, they bleed yellow. Number 4, fake Bobs do not shoot at anyone. And lastly, they only dress in a green jumpsuit, at least for Marathon 1 anyway. Now, not all green are aliens, but all simulacrums will be in green in the original Marathon. So if you want to avoid explosions or chain reactions, use fire weapons to kill them. That will kill a simulacrum without causing an explosion. Also added in Marathon 2 is the 4 cyborg. This cyborg appears to have a humanoid head and torso with grenade launchers grafted onto the arms, and their legs are replaced with tank treads. The whole aesthetic is pretty terrifying when you think about it. Now, not much lore actually talks about them in their origins. Their primary weapon is a grenade launcher that sends bouncing grenades towards the player. The major version of the cyborg shoots target-seeking grenades that follow the player. It is important to note, grenades with a red light are dumb, while grenades with a green light are heat-seeking. As this enemy is robotic, using the fusion pistol is advised. All damage will stun the cyborg, so keep on firing and they won't be able to fire back. Find cover when you're trying to dodge the grenades, and the strongest version of the cyborg also comes with a flamethrower if you get too close, so try to be careful of that. In Marathon 2, we were introduced to the Flicta. These creatures are native to Aleph One and are seemingly non-sentient. They are very territorial and will fight you when you're in their territory. They generally inhabit areas with high amounts of water. They are able to move and fight both on land and underwater. Green Flicta inhabit the sewer systems. They have strong melee attacks and have a ranged sludge throw attack. Blue Flicta are more common to freshwater areas and only have a melee attack, but it does a very high amount of damage. Red Flicta are quite unique in that they inhabit areas with lava. Their strength lies in their strong ranged attack of throwing lava at long distances. Flicta have no allegiance and will fight anyone that they see, and they don't seem to have any special weaknesses. And now we're going to get to enemies and allies that could be enemies, so this might be slight spoilers for Marathon 2 and Marathon Infinity. You've been warned. In Marathon 1, you have one ally that can actually fight back against the 4. It is known as a Marathon Automated Defense Drone, or MADS for short. Now these robots were blue in color and had basically a rapid-fire magnum for a weapon. They would help you whenever they were in a level. Now there is one level where some of the robots will turn on you. Now luckily, the robots are green so that you can tell them apart from the blue ones, but the green robots that are fighting you have grenade launchers, making them much more dangerous. The Marathon Automated Defense Drones don't seem to have a special weakness. Now you only fight the green ones for a short amount of time, and even if you were to shoot enough of the blue ones, they don't actually fight back. At least there's that. Now the Marathon Automated Defense Drones only appear in Marathon 1 as you're on the Marathon. They do not make a reappearance in Marathon 2 or Marathon Infinity. But we may see them in the new Marathon game. I mean, if you take a look at this picture, it's quite possible this is one of those drones. The Sphit Kerr are a different clan of Svit that have a very different appearance. In Marathon 2, they are strictly allies, but in Marathon Infinity, they can be your enemy. For all intents and purposes, these Svit are similar to the 4 robotic drones. They are strong in number, and they can fly around. They can also be kind of a small target, so they can be hard to hit. Their energy weapons seem to travel at a very slow velocity, and are easy to avoid. The fusion pistol is your best friend in this occasion. Another ally that can be an enemy are Bobs themselves. Now in the original Marathon, they just seem to roam around helplessly, but in Marathon 2 and Infinity, they are armed with the Magnum and help you fight or fight against you depending on the situation. They have a very low health and are very weak to fire. Killing them can net you Magnum ammo, or another Magnum for dual wielding. When Bobs are your ally, shooting them enough and killing them enough will make the rest of them hostile towards you, so watch out. Vacuum Bobs are Bobs that are ready for space combat. They have more health and are armed with the Zeus fusion pistol. Killing them can get you ammo for the fusion pistol, or you can get a fusion pistol to use, but sadly you can't actually dual wield fusion pistols. That's about the main difference between those two types of Bobs. Now there are a few bonus enemy variants of previously mentioned enemies that appear near the end of Marathon Infinity, specifically for the fighter, the trooper, and the hunter. They have a black variant, which is known as the Mother of All, so the Mother of All fighters, trooper, hunter, etc. They have absurdly high health. The Mother of All Fighters variant will shoot 3 ranged volleys. The Mother of All Troopers will launch 3 grenades at a time instead of just the Major's 2. And the Hunter's Mother of All class has double plasma cannons, and the shots also track. These are very tough, but they're actually fun enemies to fight. They only appear once in Marathon Infinity's storyline, but they make for a very memorable event and a very fun fight. So that was just a quick rundown of our enemies and allies in the Marathon trilogy. I hope that we will see more than just the Svit compilers in the new Marathon game. I'm sure that we will. They may be split up into different seasons or for special events, but I'd be glad to see some of these old favorites returning, and I'm sure it would be a lot of fun to see them brought into a current game, into a modernized first-person shooter. Would be really exciting to see how it all would pan out. Everybody, thank you so much for watching again. I appreciate you. I'll see you on our next video.